Hello and welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always, here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. Today, we are going over the Dragonflight Alpha. I originally had something else planned for this episode, but the Dragonflight Alpha came out today, the 14th, and I can't not talk about it because... yeah, it shows that it's in progress, at the very least. Obviously, we will go through the weekly news, which is the world bosses for this week, and they are Valinor, Morgeth, and Antros. Valinor in Bastion, Morgeth in the Moor, Antros in Zereth Mortis. Each have conduits. You know, I forget it, Anima. Yep. Every time, that word really just doesn't come to my mind immediately. Anima and gear, make sure you hop on over there, get your rep, get your whatever you need from them, and get them all done this week. Pomp Stomp is your brawl for this week. Pomp Stomp is an amazing brawl. You are just sent up against AIs, and they are really easy AIs, and you just 5-cap in Arathi Basin, and it's super easy honor. It is super easy renown. It's super easy to gear a character with this brawl. So spam it, because the games literally last about 5 minutes maximum, and 2 of them minutes is spent in the spawn room with the counter counting down. The bonus event for this week is arena skirmishes, so you get more honor, 50% more honor for doing arenas, arena skirmishes, stuff like that. Definitely useful, and if you're looking to get that little bit extra honor to upgrade some of your gear, now is the week, or this week is certainly the week to do that. The mythic affixes for this week are fortified, so the mobs that are non-boss mobs are a bit tankier and they deal more damage. Enraging, so make sure you either kill them very quickly or help your tank kite them or soothe them and stuff like that. Explosive, kill the explosives. The healer is generally the one that you want on the explosive duty, on higher keys, but definitely help them out sometimes because there are a lot if you're doing big pulls. So definitely make sure you help out your healer in that regard. And encrypted is the seasonal affix that will be going in a couple weeks. You get a buff dependent on which mob you kill in the dungeon. Now we're going to be looking at a spell that is no longer in the game, and we're going to be looking at its past, and that is Insect Swarm. So, it was originally added in World of Warcraft in patch 1.8, and this is a bit weird because it was added a year after World of Warcraft had originally been released. So, World of Warcraft was released in 2004, and this ability was added in patch 1.8, and that was in October of 2005. I was going to say 2025 for a second, but no, we're actually a lot closer to that than we are 2005. So yeah, that's really weird that they add spells mid-expansion, or expansion technically. So yeah, it originally was not in the game, and it was brought out about 3/4 of the way through the original vanilla version of the game. It also had a weird icon for the first few months, as the first change that it had was that it received a new icon. I'm very curious as to what that icon is. I'll have to have a look at that after the podcast, not gonna lie. The next change that it got was just under a year later in patch 2.0, which was with Burning Crusade, and it has now been relocated to the balance tree from the restoration tree, which made sense because a lot of boomkins did want to take Insect Swarm, and it was a DPS spell. You wouldn't necessarily use it for the hit chance and stuff like that, mainly due to the fact that in vanilla World of Warcraft you had a debuff limit, and this debuff limit wasn't really going to be given to Insect Swarm. You had stuff like Ignite from mages, as well as their fire damage increase. You had Sunder Armor from warriors. You had Paladin seals potentially put on there. You had curses, curse of weakness elements. So it wasn't really going to get a spot on that debuff list. So it makes sense for them to bring it to the balance tree as well, considering balance is what it was going to be used for. It was going to be used for that damage. It got a small change a month later where Insect Swarm has had its damage on all ranks increased. The mana cost of ranks 1 and 3 has been increased, and the mana cost of ranks 4, 5, and 6 has been decreased. So it was clearly doing not enough damage for the mana that it was costing, so slight adjustment there. And then a year later, in patch 2.4, it got its next change. Casting lower ranks of the spell will now properly penalize penalized. Oh, it's now properly penalized like other healing and damage effects. So you could cast. What it's saying is you could cast it at a lower rank and it would still do the damage of the max rank and stuff like that. So it makes sense. Definitely makes sense for that to be working the way it should. Then it got a small change in Wrath of the Lich King several months later. It now reduces your hit chance by 3%, up from 2%, and it no longer stacks with Scorpid Sting, which makes sense. Stuff like this should never be able to be stacked. And then it got a change 1 month later. The tooltip corrected to indicate that it does not affect hit chance with spells. A few months later, we get the bonus damage from spell power on this damage over time ability has been increased significantly to match similar spells on other classes from 76% to 120%, nearly double the amount of it nearly got double the amount of buffs, to be honest. So in Cataclysm, a whole year and a half later, it is no longer talented and became baseline, and you trained it at level 20, and no longer reduced melee and ranged critical chance by 3%. And then finally, 2 years later, in Mists of Pandaria, Insect Swarm had run its course and was removed from the game. It's quite a niche ability. It's quite fun. It made Boomkins into a dot ability, but it was kind of replaced by Sunfire instead, mainly because Sunfire just fit the profile a bit more of a balanced druid, as you're dealing with solar and lunar energy rather than lunar energy and then a bunch of insects. So it kind of made sense that, solar, I forgot it. Solar beam? Nope. Solar, oh my god, I've forgotten it. I literally just said the dot a second ago, but it made sense that it was switched out for that ability, as it just fit the balanced druid a lot more so than Insect Swarm. So, the Dragonflight Alpha has been released. It was released 5 PM my time, which is GMT. Are we GMT? No, we're BST right now. Yeah, we're BST, British Standard Time. So, Europe, you're looking at like 6 o'clock, stuff like that. 1800 CEST, stuff like that. America, I'm not too sure, but that was probably around like 10 a.m. on the East Coast and stuff like that. So, I really don't get East and West Coast timings. They're all over the place in America because of how big of a country it is. So it was released in the morning sometime, I'm pretty sure, in America. Now, the big thing about the Dragonflight Alpha is that it means that we're going somewhere. It was obviously leaked, or potentially that it was going to be released on Thursday, and a lot of people were holding out hope for it, and obviously it has been. But this shows that they are willing to just get it out there and get stuff tested, and from what we're seeing, it seems decent. There's obviously bugs in an alpha. There's always going to be bugs, such as, maybe visual bugs or quest bugs, whatever. But from the most part, the zones look complete, and they're looking to do a rolling sort of test. So I do have Wowhead up here, and I'm just going to basically be telling you what it is. So Dragonflight Alpha is now live. We have begun the alpha testing phase and want to provide you all with some details on how we have been planning for this phase of testing to roll out before we move to the next beta. This is insane, because they're actually giving us the information that we want in terms of the alpha and the beta and what might happen. This time around, we plan to do some focus zone testing early on so we can get as much feedback as possible from each of the phases, or from each phase of updates. To do this, specific zones will be available and then disabled to keep alpha testers in an active area, while the zones are expected to weave in and out of existence during the initial stages of the alpha. The majority of other content and features will continue to persist week over week following their introduction into the alpha. So they're looking at testing specific zones each and every week, and they do have a sort of phase plan just down below, but we'll get to that in a second. Our goal is to roll out a new phase every week. As a reminder, testing phase can be very fluid. So depending on implementation, feedback, issues, and schedule could get changed at a moment's notice. Alpha testers should keep an eye on the Alpha forum for updates on what is available in each update. Here is a breakdown of what players can initially expect to see in the first phase of the Dragonflight Alpha. So phase 1 is the zone experience, the Azure spam. We get in phase 1 the new race and class, Dragfear Evokers, Dragon Riding, the new interface HUD revamp, and talent revamps for the Death Knight, Druid, Hunter, Priest, and Rogue. The professions for alchemy and blacksmithing. Now, all of this in phase 1 is absolutely amazing. So, a lot of people have been playing around with the Dragfear at the moment, the Evoker and the talent trees and stuff like that. I've not seen a lot of people go for professions, but I think that'll be mainly down the line when everyone's gotten over the new sort of class that's been released, and the new zone, and the new HUD, and the new talents. I think they're the main focus at the moment. And dragon riding and alchemy, or dragon riding and the professions, are sort of going to take a step back at the moment. But they are definitely going to be looked at. And I'm actually really excited to look into the professions a bit more. Mainly because they have needed love for so long, professions. And this might be a way of doing it. It might be. It's really more in depth. You get the specific stuff for professions. So for a blacksmith, you get weapon master, I forget what the other's called, armor smith or whatever, where you can create different types of gear based on your specialization. That's the word. So you can make better chest plates, you can make better weapons and stuff like that. And I like the idea of the work orders that they're putting in. So like you put up a work order and you want a specific piece, and this person will provide you the specific piece either with their mats and then you pay them like a trader's tip or whatever, like a fee, or you provide the mats and you give them a smaller tip and stuff like that. I like that idea of an interactive world, and it's really cool. But yeah, phase 1 is all of that. So full details on the following phases will be shared as we get closer to them, but here are the current plans for the zones. So we know the zones. Forbidden Reach is the new Dragfear starting zone. I do want to mention that. It is not in phase 1, but in all of the other phases it is, and you'll be hearing it a lot. So phase 2 is Forbidden Reach only. At the moment, we have yet to gather more information on that. Phase 3 is the Forbidden Reach and the Waking Shores. Phase 4 is Forbidden Reach and I'm going to butcher this. Thaldraszus. I'm going to go with that. Phase 5 is the Forbidden Reach. Oh god, it's another one. Forbidden Reach and Oharam Plains. God, I hate these sort of words. They just don't sit right in my mind. And then phase 6, which is the final phase, as we've been figuring that out throughout the past few years, as they've been rolling out World of Warcraft Classic content throughout 6 phases. All zones are expected to be playable by phase 6, which would be absolutely insane. And bearing in mind, this is just the alpha. So if they're looking to do this every week, they're looking to roll out stuff every week, they're looking to do this over 6 weeks, just the alpha alone, which is absolutely insane. That gives a load of testing, that gives a load of bug feedbacks. And so if we're looking at that in terms of the time span that we've got, it's definitely before 2023. We know that they've guaranteed that. Now that I say they guaranteed that can change, but there'll be kind of a little bit of a uproar if they did, as they did say that it will be out before then, and those who have pre-purchased might feel a bit down about that. So 6 weeks this will take. It's currently the 15th as of this podcast going up. So we're looking at about end of August, where this alpha build will get taken down. Now, my guess is Wrath of the Lich King will be coming out in the end of August. That way we've got something to play whilst they're doing all of the bug fixes and stuff from the alpha. And then after, say, a couple months or 1 or 2 months, probably more like 1.5, of Wrath of the Lich King, we'll obviously be getting the beta, and it'll be a more refined, and they'll just sort of let us go onto the server and do whatever we want. Hopefully we find bugs that they can fix nice and easily. They might have done all the talent trees, they might just need to revamp, tune a couple things and stuff like that. That will be what the the beta is, I believe. It'll be mostly tuning a lot of the numbers, because a lot of the numbers right now are very wacky and out of place, and that is usually the last thing to get done, because it's a simple, that will deal 5,000 damage instead of 6,000. You just got to punch in a number almost. At least that's what I think. I don't really code, but, I think WoW is becoming a bit of a spaghetti code at this point. Quite funny, to be honest. I find many bugs in WoW, and they're great. I mean, I found one literally today. I was playing some arena on my priest, Shadow Priest, and I'm with Bonesmith Heimdir or whatever. The Soulbind, the third person in the Maldraxxus tree. I died in an arena, and basically we left and stuff before my actual 10-second death had happened. So you die with this conduit or with this Soulbind, and you get 10 seconds of life still, but you do 50% reduced damage, healing and stuff like that. And we'd all finished the battleground or the arena before the time had run out. So when I went out of the arena, all that I was a shoulder pad, literally one shoulder pad, and my red bandana. And my staff. My entire character model was not there. It was just a red bandana, one shoulder pad, and my staff just floating around. So yeah, there's quite some wacky bugs in the game as it is. So that's why I think there's a bit of spaghetti code, but it's good fun. It's always good fun, them sort of bugs. I'm pretty sure there's a bug on the alpha right now with Frenzy or Well-Honed Instincts where it's not triggering a cooldown, so you can constantly heal with druids, but it seems very weird and stuff like that. But yeah, numbers are the very last thing that they do, and that will be in the beta. And my guess for the beta, they haven't given an exact date, but it will be around, I probably would have thought October time. Early October, maybe late September would be really good. But that leaves the door wide open for a just before Christmas release. Who would have thought? That's always a good time to release a game, isn't it? Just before Christmas, probably like the 21st of December we're looking at. I think that's what they've done in the past usually. So yeah, a lot to look forward to, I'm not going to lie. It's great. But yeah, those are the 6 phases that we are looking towards in the Dragonflight Alpha, as we know. And obviously they will give more and more information the closer to the weeks that we get of the phases. Now, other things to mention in the alpha at the moment are not implemented, at least I don't think, but are going to be added or looked at different iterations of the alpha going forward. So, obviously we have, let's actually start with what is in the alpha. We'll start with what's in the alpha, then go on to what isn't and can be added a bit later. So, we obviously have the Drakthir, the new class and race in the alpha. So they provide a variety of customizations for your character. This basically goes all the way from horns that you can use in your dragon form, all the way to armor that your dragon just personally has. And they wanted, this is their words, they wanted to specifically give you as many customization options as possible so that it's possible that there's billions of combinations, and you might have that only Drakthir of your kind. So you might have one shoulder pad that's a red color, and no one in the world will have that, and that will be a very unique Dracthyr. And that's what they said. And I think that's really cool. That means that they might look to add more customization options down the line. You can customize your human form, obviously, as it is kind of like the Worgen. You can go in and out of your human form and Worgen form. It is the same for the Dracthyr. So it is very cool. And yeah, there is a lot of customization options on the alpha. I do have to say that. I've not experienced it personally because I do not have the alpha. If anyone... Blizzard is somehow listening to this, just hit me up with the alpha. I'll be really appreciated. Please. That's all I'm going to say. Please, can I get the alpha? I would, I'd love that. But yeah, I'm obviously watching a lot of streams, and there is a load of customization options for the Dracthyr, and they look really, really cool, and I'm really excited to have that as my ult. As my main ult for the expansion. I'm obviously going to play Boomkin, but who doesn't want to be a dragon? I mean, that's kind of cool, right? So, you have the Azure Span, which obviously is one of the largest zones created in World of Warcraft to date, and offers the greatest visual elevation change players will see in the Dragon Isles. Basically, it is a ancient forest or ancient frost-touched land with snowy peaks, misty forests, and icy tundras, pretty much. This is where the Tuskar reside in Dragonflight. Quite a lot of them, I believe. This is where they make their sort of home camp, as it were. The reason that they're probably exploring the biggest zone first is to get a feel for how the dragon riding is. The dragon riding obviously being your... I forget what it is, your form of flight in Dragonflight. It sounds really weird saying that. But yeah, it is based off of the momentum. So you have... it's very tough to explain, but you've got 3 different sort of crystals. I'm going to call them crystals. I don't know the actual name for them, but you can use each crystal to either give yourself a boost or to go up in elevation, and you gain these crystals by gaining more momentum going down and sort of swooping up and keeping your momentum going. You gain these crystals and stuff like that. Very tough to explain, and it's something that I feel like I just have to go and do, and you really have to just get a feel for it. It can't really be something that is explained in a way, but it looks really cool, and that's probably why they've done this zone first, because it gives you the most opportunity to use that Dragonflight and to test it out. Obviously, in the alpha and the first week, we have the talent previews. These are for druids, death knights, priests, hunter, evokers, and I'm missing one, rogue. That's it, yeah, rogue. All of the other classes are disabled on the alpha. So when their talent trees are released, you will be getting these classes unlocked. And I expect, now this is a big... They might release one each week with the different alphas, which I feel like is possible. It's that, or they'll dump like 3 towards the end of the alpha. So 3, like mage, monk, and warrior in week 4, and then 3 the later week, and then the remaining in the last week. But I think they'd want to do it over or as early as possible, mainly due to the fact that they want the talents to be looked at more in depth than anything, because these talent trees are obviously a revamp. They're completely a revamp of everything that we know, or everything that we've known since Mr. Pandaria, I should say. And it's something that needs tuning and needs to be looked at, because a lot of people in the alpha, I certainly think as well, they look at the rogue tree and they think, yeah, that's going to be busted in PvP. In PvP, obviously. PvE might be a different story, but in PvP, you're giving rogues Garrote, Gouge, and usually Gouge was just for outlaw rogues, which gave them some niche sort of, CC and stuff like that. But rogue talent tree seems really good compared to, say, boomkin talent trees, but again, some of these are not fully fleshed out at the moment because a lot of the abilities are not yet implemented. It's NYI, I believe it says on the alpha, not yet implemented. So very tough to tell, and hopefully they get built up over the course of the weeks of the alpha. But it'll be good fun to see. It'll be very good fun to see. And obviously you have the professions that are at the moment out, which is blacksmithing and alchemy. Definitely have a look at the alchemy one. Well, I would if I have the alpha. Again, wink wink, if anyone's listening, potentially would be lovely. Yeah, the professions are something that everyone's got to look at, and I think will be very healthy for the game, as it is something that isn't going to be related to your character power. It can be more leading into cosmetics and stuff like that, which everyone loves. Everyone loves cosmetics, and having a grind to do for these cosmetics is what can make the game fun for a lot of people. So yeah, there is a lot to do in the alpha right now, and a lot of the stuff that can be implemented very soon, or that we know is going to be or will be in the game when it launches, is obviously you have the mounts, the gladiator mounts, which is the Drake and the vicious war, whatever it is. I think it's a wolf. I feel like it's a wolf again. But yeah, these have been data mined, and they will be in later alphas potentially, or just at the start of the game. These are things that they could just flick on with the switch of a button and test out if they are usable in the game, such as there's no visual bugs and stuff like that. We know the first raid, which is called Vault of the Incarnates. Yeah, I believe it is. Vault of the Incarnates is going to be the first WoW Dragonflight raid, which is pretty good. The inclusive body types and pronouns and stuff in the game as well. So when you go to the barbers, it will have body type 1 and 2 instead of male and female. It also gives you the options for your pronouns, so he/him, she/her, they/them, and everything else. There's also loads of different customizations that they're moving towards in that regard with the barber shop, and they're looking to introduce more and more going forward. You obviously have all of the customizations for Dragfear, and these can be found on Wowhead and stuff like that. You have the ability demonstrations for the Devastator for Evokers and the Preservation spec for Evokers as well. They have loads of small videos on Wowhead if you do wish to go and check it out. Just demonstrating what the abilities look like and how they act towards one another. Now, something that they are looking to do in the future is bring back group loot in raid content. Now, this will be in Dragonflight, apparently, or at least I believe it will be, and this will be fun. So it depends on how much that they're going to give in terms of loot. If they stick to the same amount of loot, so I think 3, 4, 5 pieces of loot drop per boss, then it might not be too bad, considering it's not going to be 40 people in a raid. It's not going to be classic raid size. It is going to be more 20-man raid, I think, is the best size. I think it might be 25. Can't remember. But yeah, they got to base it off of how big the raid is, because obviously if you go in there with a 10-man raid and it drops the same amount of loot, it's probably going to be better. Not going to lie. It might be worse item level and stuff, but who knows? So that can cause a lot of issues, because obviously you have you'll need to appoint a master looter. What's going to happen in looking for raid then? Is it going to be personal loot for looking for raid, or is it going to be master looter or group loot, or you roll for your items and stuff like that? Because that can cause a lot of ninjaing on items that people don't actually need. There's a lot of potential issues with it, but again, it's something that can cause a lot of drama, and therefore a lot of it will cause press, at least for World of Warcraft, and it will cause some funny moments. It will cause some funny moments again. So, I'm all for it. To be honest, I'm all for it. But just having the alpha released and having it visual, or visually for us to be able to see what they've done and where they're up to in terms of the classes, the zones. The zones and the maps look perfect, by the way. They look absolutely amazing when you open the map, at least. They look very good, and they look like they are designed for your dragonflight and dragon riding and stuff like that. So that makes it even better, and that makes it a core aspect of the game, along with the customization of your dragon, obviously, because that is going to be what ultimately replaces your legendary weapon, your Azerite, and your... oh my god, I've forgotten the word again. Anima. I always forget the word. But yeah, that's ultimately what's going to replace your borrowed power, is the customization for your dragons in Dragonflight. So you can customize them however you want. But that is going to do it for me. Thank you all very much for listening. Once again, if there is anyone at Blizzard that is listening and might want to drop me a little alpha, I'll be more than happy with it. But do check out all the social medias down below. Check out the YouTube, Twitch, absolutely everything. Loads of stuff happening down there. Thank you all very much for listening, and go Valor friend. Goodbye all.